Welcome to our little haven of books. The chime of the bell above the door tells me someone new has entered. That would be you, right? It's not just the sound, but a little feeling I get. A sort of welcoming whisper in the air when someone steps into this old sanctuary of stories. You seem like you've just stepped out of the bustling world outside into our quieter, more contemplative one. How are you today? Looking for something specific, or perhaps just browsing for now. Either way, you've come to the right place. This store, as you can see, is filled with rows upon rows of books, each with its own story to tell, not just inside its covers, but about how it came to find itself here. Some are old, some are new, but all are waiting to be discovered. What kind of books do you usually find yourself drawn to? Oh, fiction, a wonderful choice. There's nothing quite like losing yourself in another world, is there? Whether it's the bustling streets of a city you've never visited, or the quiet, mystical realms of fantasy, we have an excellent section of classic literature if you lean towards the timeless tales, or if modern narratives spark your interest, I can guide you there as well. Now, let me think. If you like fiction, you might enjoy some of the early 20th century classics. There's something utterly enchanting about the prose of that era, rich and evocative. Authors like Fitzgerald or Woolf, perhaps. Their books aren't just stories, they are portals to the very essence of a bygone era, full of dreams and sometimes beautiful melancholies. Or maybe you're in the mood for something a bit different. How about a mystery? There's nothing quite like the crackle of suspense, the page-turning urgency of wanting to know who done it. We have a delightful section dedicated to mysteries, from the Golden Age classics to contemporary thrillers. Are you a fan of puzzles and intrigue? Science fiction? A visionary choice. It's not just about space and stars, as some might think, but about exploring the what-ifs of human civilization, technology, and indeed, the very fabric of reality. I have some Philip K. Dick and Arthur C. Clarke that might just bend your mind in the most delightful way. Their books challenge perceptions and open up galaxies of thought. But perhaps it's romance you seek, something to stir the heart and perhaps echo with your own desires and dreams. Romance novels have a special place on these shelves. From the turbulent passions of Bronte to the gentle affections of Austen, these tales spin a web of emotions that captivate the soul. Children's books, of course, whether for a young one in your life or for the young at heart, our collection ranges from the adventurous, like those by Enid Blyton, to the magical realms of Narnia. There's a purity and joy in children's literature that can often remind us of fundamental truths about life. Oh, you seem curious about our rare books section as well. That's a bit of a special interest of mine. It's not just the age or rarity, but the stories behind how these books were crafted, how they survived through time, and how they ended up here. Each book here has a lineage, a narrative of its own. If you have time, I'd love to show you some remarkable pieces. Do any of these genres call to you? Or perhaps you'd like to simply wander the aisles and see what catches your eye. That's often the best way to find a book. It's almost as if the book chooses you, not the other way around. Feel free to take your time. Let the spine of a book catch your attention, and let curiosity guide you. If you need any assistance, if you have questions about a book, or if you just want to share your thoughts on a piece you've read, I'm here. This isn't just a place of business, it's a place of sharing, learning, and escaping into the wonders of the written word. Take all the time you need. The world outside can wait. Inside here, it's just you, me, and an endless world of stories waiting to be part of your life. Enjoy your journey through the pages, and remember, every book you open holds not just a story, but a whole new world. How delightful, isn't it, to think of all the places you can go without ever leaving the room? So, you've decided to start with the classics, have you? A splendid choice indeed. There's something profoundly grounding about reading works that have stood the test of time, don't you think? The way these stories resonate with generations, echoing through the ages, speaks volumes about their depth and universality. Let me show you some of my personal favourites. Here we have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Austen had a knack for observing the subtleties of the social hierarchy and the nuances of human interaction. Her characters are so vividly drawn that they begin to feel like people we might actually know. Perhaps you've read it before, or maybe watched one of the many adaptations. No matter how many times one returns to her works, there always seems to be a new wit or wisdom to uncover. Now, if you lean a bit more towards introspective and existential questions, then perhaps Virginia Woolf's To the Lighthouse would intrigue you. Woolf's stream of consciousness style allows us to delve so deeply into her characters' thoughts that it almost feels like we're part of their inner dialogues. It's a profound exploration of time, memory, and the changes that define human life. Woolf's language is like a gentle wave that carries you away to distant, introspective shores. Moving on to something a bit different, have you ever ventured into the realms of Russian literature? It's a deep, sometimes dark, and invariably powerful experience. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, for instance, explores the psyche of a young man embroiled in moral dilemmas and the repercussions of his actions. The psychological depth in Dostoevsky's books can be quite intense, but oh, how rewarding. Perhaps you're in the mood for something a bit lighter, yet still rich with layers of meaning. Then, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn could be just the right blend. Twain uses humour and the innocence of youth to critique societal norms and expose the prejudices and hypocrisies of adult society. His clever use of dialect and the vivid settings transport readers straight to the heart of the American South. Or maybe you'd enjoy stepping into the revolutionary shoes of Victor Hugo with Les Miserables. It's a sweeping tale of love, justice, and the fight for redemption in the shadow of the French Revolution. Hugo's ability to weave personal stories into larger social commentaries is nothing short of masterful. Now, each of these books carries with it a distinct flavour, a unique voice that speaks across centuries. They ask questions that remain relevant today, challenge perceptions, and offer comfort in their familiarity or disquiet, depending on their nature. Oh, and before I forget, if you appreciate beautifully crafted sentences and psychological depth, then The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald might catch your interest. Fitzgerald captures the Jazz Age's extravagance and its underlying desolation like no other. His portrayal of Gatsby's lavish parties and tragic love is both dazzling and heart-wrenching. Would you like to take a moment to flip through any of these? Or perhaps you have questions about a specific author or theme. Sometimes even the feel of the book, the weight, the texture of the paper can draw us closer to a decision. Take your time. Here the rush of the modern world fades away, and we're left with the simple yet profound joy of choosing our next journey through the pages. Of course, if none of these seem to call out to you, we can always explore other genres. Literature is a vast sea, and there are many currents to swim in. Whether it's diving into the intricate plots of modern thrillers, unwinding through the verses of romantic poetry, or getting lost in fantastical worlds where dragons soar and magic reigns, the perfect book awaits you. So, let's continue, shall we? Let me know if something else piques your interest, or if you'd like to keep exploring these shelves. It's a pleasure to assist someone with an eager mind and a thirsty soul for stories. After all, each book here is a door, and behind every door a new world waits. How exciting it is to choose which to open next. Ah, I see your eyes wandered towards that corner over there. A little alcove of sorts. That's where we house our rare and antique books. It's a bit special, isn't it? The way some spines show their age. The gilded letters slightly faded, but still proud. Each one of those books has a tale beyond the tales written on their pages. They carry the marks of time, of hands long gone, that have turned those pages perhaps by candlelight, lost in thought just as we are today. Now, this section isn't just for any book. Here, you'll find volumes that have survived wars, crossed oceans, and been gifts of love or tokens of farewell. Take this volume here. Yes, this one, bound in leather that's a bit worn at the edges. This is an original edition of Poe's poems. Edgar Allan Poe. Mysterious, isn't he? Almost like the characters he wrote about. This book was once owned by a sea captain who sailed from the old world to the new, his only companion during long and lonely voyages. Can you imagine? The storms he witnessed, the quiet starlit nights, all while this very book lay close at hand. Next to it, see this one with the intricate carvings on the cover. This is a first edition of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, a passionate, tumultuous tale, much like the life of its owner before it found its way here. It belonged to a young woman in the Victorian era, who, I was told, received it as a gift from a suitor whom she never married. Each annotation in the margins, a whisper of a time when love was restrained, yet feelings were deep. And here, oh, this is one of the jewels of our collection, Shakespeare's Hamlet, printed over a century and a half ago. This tome has graced the shelves of scholars and been a centrepiece in the libraries of the learned. Its pages have seen the fervent debates of academics and the gentle handling of those who appreciate the bard's genius. Each line in this play has been read, reread, and cherished. Now, you might be drawn to this modest, unassuming little book here. Its cover doesn't shout for attention, yet it is profoundly special. This is a diary from the mid-1800s, handwritten, of course. Inside you'll find the daily thoughts of a woman who lived through the Civil War, her reflections, her fears, her hopes, raw and real. It's not fiction, but the truth of her words strikes deeper, doesn't it? History not from the pen of historians, but from the heart of someone who lived it. Do any of these intrigue you? Perhaps stir a curiosity about those who held them before us? Each buyer, each reader adds another layer to their story. Now, they wait for the next chapter, perhaps with you. You could be the bridge from their past to a new present, another caretaker in the long line of guardians who preserve not just the book, but the spirits within. It's a special kind of person who values these old souls, not just a reader, but a keeper of legacies. Would you like to hold one? Feel the weight, the texture of the paper. Thicker, more substantial than what we're accustomed to today. There's a continuity in these pages, a sense of being part of something larger than ourselves. Each book here is more than literature. It's a piece of history, a fragment of lives past, whispering to us through time. Are you perhaps searching for something particular in this section? Or maybe just the thrill of discovery. Sometimes our visitors find that the book chooses them instead of the other way around. It could be the title, a name engraved on the cover, or simply a feeling, a pull towards a particular shelf or volume. See if any other whispers reach your ears, call to your heart. These books are not merely acquisitions, they are treasures. To own one is to agree to a stewardship, a promise to protect and cherish. It's a profound connection, isn't it? To think that by taking one home, you become a part of its story, as much as it becomes a part of yours. So, take your time, feel the stories, not just those written by the author, but those imbued in the very essence of the book by those who cherished it before. Do let me know if a certain piece catches your eye, or if there are stories behind the stories that you wish to hear more about. This is a place of discovery, of connection, not just to literature, but to the very thread of human experience woven through time. What an adventure we have before us, don't you think? Ah, I can see from your eyes that you're drawn to this particular volume here. Yes, it's rather unassuming at first glance, isn't it? But let me assure you, it's one of the most fascinating pieces we have in our collection. This book, my dear visitor, is much more than just a collection of pages. It's a gateway to a forgotten time, a relic imbued with mystery and lore. It's a collection of medieval tales, including myths, legends, and fables that have been passed down through generations. The cover, bound in dark leather, is etched with symbols that are as cryptic as they are beautiful. These are not just decorative. No, they are ancient runes, believed by some to hold magical properties. It's said that this book was once owned by a scholar of the esoteric arts, who spent his life decoding ancient texts and unearthing the secrets they held. Imagine the candlelit nights spent poring over these pages, the quill gently scratching as he transcribed secrets of the old world. Now, open it gently. There. Do you see the inscription on the first page? It's in Latin, beautifully scripted, a dedication from the scholar to his beloved daughter. It reads, "To my dearest, may the wisdom contained herein illuminate your path as brightly as your presence illuminates my life." Quite touching, isn't it? It's rare to find such personal touches in books of this age. Each story within this tome is meticulously illustrated with woodcuts that are art pieces in their own right. Look at this one here, the depiction of a knight battling a dragon. Notice the intricate lines, the expression on the knight's face, the fearsome detail of the dragon. These illustrations aren't just for show. They were crafted to communicate stories in an age when not everyone could read. They're historical documents, as much as they are artworks. Let's turn to one of the tales. Ah, here's a favourite of mine. It's the legend of the Green Knight, a story of challenge and chivalry, of honour tested and restored. It's been told in many ways over the centuries, but never quite like this, with annotations by the scholar explaining the symbolism and moral nuances that might escape the modern reader. What's particularly unique about this book is not just the stories themselves, but the marginalia, comments left by the book's various owners over the years. Here, by the edge of this page, a note from a Victorian poet who owned this book in the 1800s. He reflects on the tale of the Green Knight in relation to his own life's trials. It's as if each owner has left a part of themselves within these pages, adding layers of thought and experience that enrich the original text. And here, see this slight water stain? There's a tale there as well. This book survived a flood that nearly destroyed a private library. The owner at the time was heartbroken at the damage, but thankfully most of the text remained legible. It's a testament to the resilience of this volume, a survivor of not just time, but also of the elements. Would you like to hold it for a moment? Feel the weight of history in your hands, the texture of paper that has felt the touch of so many before us. There's a magic in that, a tangible link to the past that makes these old texts so invaluable. I often wonder about the next chapter in the life of books like this one. Who will add to its story? What insights will they draw from its tales? Perhaps it could be you. Maybe this book has been waiting for someone just like you to come along and discover it, to learn from it, and perhaps to pass it on with your own stories added to its margins. It's more than just acquiring a book. It's embracing a piece of history, a shard of human endeavour and thought that has been lovingly preserved. It's an invitation to be part of a lineage of readers, thinkers, and dreamers who have been guardians of this knowledge. Take all the time you need to decide. This isn't a choice to be rushed. Each book, especially one as special as this, finds its rightful owner in its own time. If this one speaks to you, if it calls out to your soul, listen to that voice. It's the whisper of the past, reaching out through the ages, seeking to be heard once more. So, what do you think? Does this book resonate with you? Could you see it in your collection? Or perhaps as a gift for someone who cherishes history as much as you do? It's a rare find, truly. One that deserves a discerning new owner to appreciate its depth and beauty. I can see that the medieval tales have truly captivated your imagination. It's not just the age or the mystique, but the connection, isn't it? The sense that through these stories, we touch a past that was once as vivid and real as our present. You know, books like these are not merely read. They are experienced. They pull us into their world, wrap us in their ambience, and whisper secrets of the ages into our ears. Let's consider the themes these stories explore: honour, bravery, and the quest for understanding. These are not just medieval ideals, but are timeless, echoing in our modern lives. In each tale, the heroes and heroines face challenges that test their virtues, much like the challenges we face today. There's a universality in that, a thread that connects us to these long-gone authors who also grappled with what it means to live a good life. Take, for example, the story of the Green Knight. It's not just about the literal journey of Sir Gawain, it's also a metaphorical journey towards self-discovery and integrity. The Green Knight challenges Gawain not just to a duel, but to a test of his moral fibre. Similarly, we encounter situations that test our integrity and courage. What choices do we make when faced with our own Green Knights? It's fascinating, isn't it? How a story penned centuries ago can still prompt us to introspect about our own lives. Now, let me share something a bit more personal about this book. A few years ago, a young student came into this store, much like you, wandering and curious. She stumbled upon this very book and was drawn to it, much like you are now. Over time, she would come back to tell me how the stories inspired her studies, her writing, even her philosophy on life. This book became a sort of companion for her, a source of inspiration and contemplation. It's beautiful, really, how a book can become a part of someone's life, influencing it in profound ways. Imagine the conversations this book has inspired, the debates and discussions that have swirled around its contents. Picture it in a study, by lamplight, with a group of thinkers pondering over the morals of these tales, or in a quiet room, where someone seeks solace in its pages. This book doesn't just belong to the past, it belongs to the present and the future, wherever there are minds eager to explore and spirits ready to be stirred. If this book could speak beyond the words printed on its pages, it might tell of all those who have held it before, of their hopes and their worries, their laughter and their tears. Books like this are not static, they are dynamic, alive with the energies of all who have touched them. You see, taking this book home isn't just a purchase, it's an adoption of sorts. you're inviting it into your life, promising to keep its legacy alive, to add your chapter to its history. And perhaps one day you might pass it on, adding to the chain of its guardians, each custodian a link between the past and the future. So, how do you feel holding it? Does it seem like a responsibility? A privilege? Maybe a bit of both. It's okay to feel a little daunted by the weight of its history, but also excited by the possibility of being part of something so much larger than oneself. Each page you turn is a step on a journey, not just through the landscapes of the tales it tells, but through the landscapes of your own life and thoughts. I'm here to answer any questions you might have, to help guide your decision, but in the end the choice is yours and yours alone. It's a personal one, a dialogue between you and the past, mediated by the timeless art of storytelling. Whatever your decision, know that it's the right one, for books find their readers, or perhaps it's the other way around. Readers find their books, guided by an unseen hand, a whisper of destiny perhaps. So, take a moment, let the pages fan under your fingers. Feel the pull of centuries calling to you. Is this the book that will accompany you home today? Will you be the next curator of its legacy? As our time together in this little corner of the world draws to a close, I sense that you formed a connection with this extraordinary volume. The choice, of course, is yours to make, and there's no right or wrong decision. Only what feels true to your heart and mind. These moments, these quiet decisions, are perhaps the most personal and profound in the life of a reader and a collector. If you decide to take this book with you, you're not just acquiring a rare piece of literature, you're embracing a piece of history, a legacy of thought and art that has been carefully preserved through the ages. It's a responsibility indeed, but also a great joy. The joy of knowing that you are a part of this book's journey, and it, in turn, will become a part of your own story. If you choose to leave it behind, know that this is also a beautiful choice. It means that the story isn't quite ready to unfold in your life, and that too is a journey, a part of the dialogue we have with ourselves and with the past. Perhaps today is not the day for this book and you, but who knows what the future holds. Our paths with certain books are often winding, guided by an unseen force that knows the perfect moment of reunion. Whether this book goes home with you today or stays here, waiting for the next person to discover its charm, it remains a beacon of the power and beauty of storytelling. It reminds us that we are all part of a larger narrative, interconnected through time and space by the stories we share and the books we cherish. If you're ready to make this book yours, I'll prepare it for you with care, ensuring it is protected as you transport it to its new home. If you're not ready today, that's perfectly fine as well. The decision to bring a book into your life is significant and should be made with a full heart. Let's take a moment here together with the book between us. Feel the weight of history in your hands. Consider the lives it has touched before it came to rest here. In your presence, think about the nights you might spend absorbed in its tales, the corners of your favourite rooms where it might reside, the friends and family you might one day read it to. Imagine the discussions it might provoke, the inspiration it could provide. Whatever your choice, I thank you for sharing part of your day with me and these books. It's always a pleasure to meet someone who reveres the written word as much as we do here. Remember, our doors are always open, and the stories within these walls are always waiting to be told, to be heard, to be cherished. You are always welcome here, to explore, to discover, to return to the old favourites or find new adventures. It's a rare and wonderful thing, the bond between books and their readers. It transcends time and place, language and culture. It's a reminder that we are never truly alone. We are always part of the grand, sweeping dialogue of humanity, and in that way, books are more than just objects. They are companions, teachers, and friends. So, take your time. No rush. The world outside will still be there when you decide. But within these pages, within these walls, time stands still. A sanctuary from the hustle and bustle. A place where you can pause, reflect, and connect with the centuries of human thought and passion that pulse through these shelves. Thank you for allowing me the honour of guiding you through our collection today. Whether this book goes with you or stays, whether you return soon or in the distant future, this moment, your journey through our aisles, remains a cherished part of our shared story. Safe travels and happy reading wherever your path may lead you.